My journey started out with a longing and a yearning to be better, to escape some of the circumstances of my growing up. And so I began a journey to do better, be better, feel better, understand more, experience more. And I began with a kind of an earnest, honest yearning and longing to figure out more about who I was and where I came from. Some of it was purely pain induced. I did a lot of stuff, responding to the pain that I was experiencing. And that's a healthy thing. I feel like the work that I did early on was healthy. And I was drawn to, experience more than I think what was I would consider to be a boring life. I wanted more than that. And so I began in ways that I didn't even understand. And that's one of the things that I want to really spend time on is that we only can go as far as our intuition will take us. We have a sense of things, a an understanding at a primal level of the fact that's more out there for us. And so the work begins. And I've, you know, identified the work for me as being wilderness work. I think I grew up in kind of a wilderness. And I had to learn how to be comfortable in that, to deal with the sounds of the night, the animals beyond the campfire. And I had to do that work. And it was a start, for sure. And that work led to the work of dealing with my emotional clarity. So there was moral clarity, where I started, and then I journeyed into trying to understand some of my emotional reactions to the world around. And I was able to consolidate that idea into coming to understand beauty as a way to begin to get a marker, a touchstone for how to work with my emotional life. And so those two things have been pretty active for quite a while. And of course, that includes my meditation and reading and, the other stuff that I do. But I'm not a great reader. I'm not a great intellectual. So I wither away on some of this stuff. It's just too complicated. Just absolutely insoluble to me. Can't figure it out. So I've had to kind of turn around a little bit on that and backtrack and say, well, what is it that I can understand? What is it that I really have a better grip on that will allow me to, proceed in my journey? And so I came back to some very basic experiences, and they are very precious to me. My angel experience and my experience of having truths revealed to me in circumstances where I didn't have any idea what was going on. But nevertheless, they showed up. And as a result of those, I've begun to move forward to begin a more disciplined work in a way. And it's the discipline of my imagination, my imaginal world, uh, that I feel strongly attracted to. And it's hard to talk about a little bit because it's really an internal experience that I'm leaning into. But I do want to expand, what I've said in the past to include what I think of as the mystic veil. And really, there's more than one of them. I should have said mystic veils, because they exist all over the place in my life as it is. And one of the places that I began to find myself, I didn't set out with this sort of goal, but I found myself in the work around personality. What was I being drawn to? What forces were exerting themselves on me? What directions was I being pushed into? Where was I? What was my orientation? And again, I've spoken of that before many times, our orientation. But there is a veil between what we think we want and what is there. And that veil is one that must be encountered. Sometimes it's completely opaque, in other words, you can't see through it. And sometimes it's diaphanous, which means you can kind of see through it, but maybe not with total clarity. And so that is the journey I am making. The journey through my own personality, lifting the veil on who I am and lifting the veil on my connection to the divine hierarchy. So it's an idea where I'm not able to see particularly clearly around the areas of my calling. I feel like I have a better feel for it, but I also feel it's not necessary to have complete understanding or lucidity about where I'm going or what I'm doing. The events of the day shape the events of the day. In other words, they shape my understanding of the day. They shape how I respond to it. I don't determine the events of the day. I'm not a trendsetter. I don't want to be a trendsetter. I want to be obedient, and I want to be clear about my response to my own calling. I don't want to do more than I've been asked to do, nor do I want to do less. And that's how the veil works. It is that it must be parted. It must be pushed aside. You have to walk through the veil of understandings. That's why clarity is so important. To have the tools available to be able to discern what is behind the veil and how to walk through the veil. How to push the veil aside. Perhaps that's the best title, Pushing the Veil Aside. So that's the work that I do. And it's a combination of meditation, of longing, of yearning, of understanding how to say no and how to say yes. And both of those things work together in a perfect symphony of connection. That's what I'm asking myself, and I'm hoping that you will join me in this incredible journey of moving through the veils of reality, where there's a hidden reality, an unseen, invisible reality that's waiting to be discovered. And if we can get our personalities out of the way so that we can see more clearly, that's the world I want to be seeing. That's what I want to be part of. I don't know that it's any easier. It's not necessarily a glorious view. Sometimes, as I've experienced, it's pretty painful. I'm experiencing some pain right now as I see that evil seems to have its way with this world, and as it should be. But I want to move past that. In other words, I can't say, is that the only solution? That evil will win and that I will lose and that's all there is? There is no solution? Well, no, I don't believe that. I do not believe I believe we can say no to the prince of this world and find in this world divine connection. Amen.